welcome back to Food Prep Guide. We are chatting about water filtration today. I have multiple options to discuss with you, including a DIY option that we will cover on how we can filter water at home on a regular basis, just to filter out things like chlorine and fluoride and stuff that might be in the tap water if you live in the city, or contaminants that may be in well water if you're out in the country and on a well. I also have some things to discuss about portable water filtration options that are better suited for emergencies. We're going to talk about that too. Now, we have a video on the channel already on how to store water for emergencies, but today we're really going to focus on water filters and all of the different options that are out there. I've got some really nasty dirty water here. We're going to do some testing and kind of show you before and afters and just talk about the different options that are available to us on the market today. Let's get started. The first two water filter options I want to address is for emergencies. The reason why I want to start out with these is because these strike me as the type of filters that meet the needs of the vast majority of potential scenarios. The vast majority of people, whether you're in perfect health or whether you are elderly or whether you are disabled, I feel like these types of filters can be carried with you and used in pretty much any circumstance. So I want to start off with these two. The first one, and they really kind of go hand in hand, but it's basically a water filter straw, and it is just how it sounds. It's like a straw that has a water filter built into it. This is the mouthpiece, and you put this into your water source, whatever that may be. Now, these are intended kind of in the emergency world, I guess, intended for things like rivers and ponds and lakes and streams, found water sources where you have no idea what might be in it. This isn't something that I would have, I would be using in my house on a regular basis, or even, just camping out in my backyard. We have some other options that I'm going to discuss for that. This is going to be for truly emergency situations where you're having to drink out of ponds and rivers and streams and stuff like that. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this video right now is because we are still on the tail end of Hurricane Helene, and there are still people who are having to have bottled water flown in with a helicopter and dropped off because all of the water in that area is contaminated. And it just breaks my heart to continue to see that devastation, and it's not being shown much on mainstream media, which don't need to get on that soapbox, but there is still an ongoing emergency over in that area, and I just keep thinking if they just had this water filtration options like some of the ones that I'm showing you in this video today, I wonder how much less stressful that water situation would be. Now, when it comes to the exact contaminants that are going to be protected against and all of the options that I'm going to show you, I'm going to direct you to the manufacturer for that because they can give you far better details. All of these companies have very strict testing published on their websites, and you can go through and read exactly how much in a percentages that each element or compound or chemical or whatever is filtered out. So I'm going to direct you, all of the links for all of these products will be in the description box below, and I'm going to send you to them to look at these specific, like I said, percentages and stuff like that. But the vast majority of these types of straws, and this one in particular, it's Membrane Solutions, also called SimPure, the brand, is going to be 99.999% protective against E. coli and, what's the other one? I can't even remember. It starts with the C. It starts with a C. Clostridium? No, not Clostridium. It starts with a C, but it's a very common contaminant in water along with E. coli, and it is 99.999% effective against those things. It is effective against some other things as well, but again, I'll send you to them for that. So I wanted to discuss kind of the options here because this, as it stands, just like this, you have to bend over to your water source and drink from it. Or what you can also do is have some kind of container. I'm just using this mason jar as an example. I know we're not going to have mason jars in that emergency type situation more than likely, but you can find any found container that you have, scoop that up, use that as a container, stick your straw into it like this and drink from it like that so that you don't have to stay bent over drinking from the actual water source. The other option involved with that is a gravity-fed system that works with these water straws. Let me just turn you. Okay, so you can see I've got this hooked up here, hooked up here to my counter, and it hangs, and it's a gravity system. So this gravity system hooks up to one of these water straws that, hold on. Okay, had to get my camera set up there. So this gravity system, you would use this as your container of water and hang this on a tree or, you know, whatever the case may be. And it hooks to one of these straws. And then when you want something to drink, you can just go up here, pop the lid, and drink from it, just like you would with the other one, but you're not having to stay bent over and drinking from the water source itself. This is really handy if you can, you know, swing it for just comfort while you're having to drink water from emergency source. We're already in an uncomfortable situation as it is, and having to stay bent over a water source can just make drinking water more stressful than it should be. And so having a container, a gravity-fed container like this is, I highly recommend it. So I wanted, since these are essentially the same, the only difference between this and this is this one has the option to screw into a water bottle. So let's pretend you don't have the gravity bag, and let's pretend you only get one of these little straws that are very budget friendly. I don't want to tell you the wrong price, but I think they're like $10 to $15 range for one. Excellent, excellent deal. I also wanted to get this video out before Black Friday because I know a lot of these companies do excellent Black Friday deals. And if we can find those, get the details on those, we will send you coupon codes and stuff like that down in the description box as well to help you save some more money on them. But this, let's say you only get this and you don't get a gravity filter, you don't get a stand-up filter or anything like that. What you can do is fill a water bottle with whatever water source that you're getting it from and hook it to this filter. I want to mention this real quick. So this right here, when I was testing these out earlier, I thought this was part of the filter, and it's not. It is a lid that is protecting the cleanliness of the filter, and that has to come out in order for the filter to work. So just a tip on that. I wasted a lot of time trying to figure out that, you know, that's how it worked. So gotta take that cover off, but I want to demonstrate how this hooks to the filter. So you can look in here and see that it is threaded. I don't know if you can see that, but the inside of the bottom of the straw is threaded so that you can still just dip this into the pond or the lake or stream or whatever, but you also have the option of screwing a water bottle to it to make it easier to drink from. Now you do, hold on a minute, I've got it misthreaded. There you go. Now you do need to tilt this up in order to drink it, but that's a whole lot better than staying bent over. So that's an option as well. You know, if you have bottled water, when I was thinking about what's kind of the purpose of that, because if you have clean bottled water, why would you need one of these? But this is something that's helpful when you're just camping and hiking and not necessarily in an emergency situation, and you're just wanting to travel as lightly as possible. You don't want to carry a huge case of water with you when you're camping or hiking. You're wanting to keep things as light as possible. So that's the use case I think that would be good for. It also has an adapter that will fit those threaded canteen style containers. It just threads in like this, and then this will be able to hook up to, now it's not a universal fit by any means, but a lot of those popular canteen style containers have a threaded top, and that's the kind that these adapters fit onto. So there's that. So let's go ahead and test one of these with this really nasty water I have here. Let me get you set up and so you can see that a little bit better. Okay, so here's my dirty water. I'm going to shake it up, get all that sediment all mixed up in there. You can see how dirty it is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a syringe and squirt it through the filter, and then we're going to see what kind of water comes out through the bottom here. And I'm hoping this will give us a good visual of how well the water, I'm going to reach down because that's where the sediment is settling. Okay, you see how murky that water is in there? Okay, so what I'm going to do is all these straws have a clip on the bottom and a lid on top, and that is just to keep the filter as clean as possible and protected when it's not being in use. But the straw tip is the part that would go into your mouth. This part is the kind that you would put into your water source. So what I'm going to do to test this is that I'm going to put the mouth part that I would actually be drinking from in this cup and squirt the dirty water through the filter right here. Whoops. I got a huge chunk of pebble or something. Let me just get that off because it is blocking the hole. Okay. Wow, this is really dirty. Okay, let's see how this works. Okay, so all that plunger is through. Shake that out and let's look at our water. Can you see it? That is pretty clean, pretty impressive. Let me give you a view this way. I'm gonna shine the light so you can kind of see a little bit better. Whoops, spilled it a little bit. I'm gonna do one more. I wish I had a bigger syringe so that I could show it to you, a larger volume, but don't. This is the biggest syringe I have. You can see all that dirt in there. Let's try it one more time. Put the mouthpiece down, just as this would be like pretending this is what actually would be going into my mouth. But since you can't see that, I'm doing it this way. Okay, there we go. And there is the clean water. Give you a side-by-side of this is the obviously dirty and the clean, and you can see how much cleaner this water is. So these water filter straws are incredibly affordable and budget friendly, and it's just a really quick way to clean up the water in an emergency situation. Okay, let's chat about the other options. The second category of water filtration option is going to be your standalone gravity filters. This is the type of filter that you can use in your home on a regular basis, whether it be this one by Membrane Solutions, whether it be a Berkey, whether it be any of the other popular brands out there. Most of them are generally designed the same. Now there's something I want to talk to you about this particular one, but let's very quickly go over the general design. So most of them are going to be designed into two compartments. You have a top chamber and a bottom chamber, and the top chamber is where your filters are. And generally these are going to be carbon filters. This one has 3, just like other popular brands does, like the Berkey has 3, some of them only have 2, but this is where the dirty water goes into, and you can see it cannot go into the bottom chamber unless it comes out of the filter holes here. They have washers, and I do want to highly recommend that you pay attention to the washer if you decide to get this style filter, because I have used this style filter before and lost the rubber gasket that goes on the inside of this nut here and didn't think it was a big deal. But what happens is dirty water will just leak through that circle and go down into your drinking water, and it's no longer pure. So just a note there. But that's how it works. These carbon filters filter out the bad stuff. They are only allowed to go through these holes and then into this bottom filter. And then you have some sort of spigot here that allows you to access the water. Now this particular one is a new to me technology. I have not researched water filtration options in a very long time because I have already had our DIY options, which I'm going to discuss for you in just a minute. I've used a Berkey for years, but the new technology to me is UV technology that is powered by the flow of water. And I have heard about the benefits of UV technology in filtering out the water, but I've just never really fully looked into it until now, and I've got to say I'm pretty impressed. So what happens is, as the water is draining from here and as you turn this spigot, I'm thinking about taking this off. Oh no, you can still see it. But it's got this, let me turn this, see how hefty of this spigot is. It's not your typical spigot. And inside here is a little light. And as long as you have a power source, that's the only thing. At first I was really confused, like, you know, for daily use, we have power, no issue, just plug it into your wall. It plugs in. it comes with this adapter. But this adapter can come off because there are 3 different power solutions, but it does come with this power adapter here that you can plug into your wall and you're good to go. But then I realized when I had a closer look into it that since this power adapter unplugs, this can plug into one of those power bank chargers. Now this is something, it can be powered as simple as a $15 little tiny power bank that you can pick up from Walmart. It'll power this thing. And the other thing that I was encouraged about is that the UV doesn't turn on until it senses water flowing through it. The water flow is what activates that UV light. So it's not using constantly turning it on and powering that light and using whatever energy source you're using. I mentioned the power adapter, the power bank, but you can also use batteries. So it comes with a battery pack that you can also use to supply this filter. So if you're in a grid down situation, if you're outdoors camping and you don't have an RV and you just want to still power this and get that cleanest water possible, it also hooks up with a battery pack. You need 3.7 volt batteries, looks like 4 of them. I believe those are lithium. So 4 3.7 volt batteries will power this water filter for a grid down situation, or you're just camping when you don't have access to a power source. So there's that. But the UV, so most of the gravity water filters on the market today are simply relying on the carbon filters up in the upper chamber. This one has a 2-step solution, and that's something that I appreciate, because one thing that I have found in my research in being prepared to live without electricity, trying to set ourselves up to lead as normal of a lifestyle as possible, despite whatever's going around us in the world, and that is redundancy. That is having backups to your backups, and not having one way to filter water, but having 2 ways or 3 ways to filter water. And this filter, even though it's just one way to filter water, it uses 2 different steps to filter that water. Whereas with something like the Berkey, you are only reliant on the carbon filters, which of course get dirty and clogged up and you got to replace, and you have to replace these as well. But you're talking, it can go for like a year or more, but that depends on how much water you're using on a regular basis, and that's going to change from family to family depending on your family size. But anyway, I was really impressed with the 2-step filtration option for this. UV light is known to kill most bacteria and viruses, concentrated UV light. Again, I'm going to send you to the manufacturer's website to get the exact bacteria and viruses and all of that is neutralized with this UV light. But I just love the fact that it has 2 steps and it isn't only reliant on the carbon filter. With that said, let's say you're in an emergency situation and you have no power bank, you have no batteries, you have nothing. It's fine. You can absolutely just unplug it and you still have the standard variety of water filters that are out there on the market today. And it's just reliant on the carbon filters. But if you can plan ahead and make sure that you can utilize that 2-stage filtration with that UV filter, then even better. Much better. Okay, so the other option is the Berkey that I mentioned. I'm going to turn you around and show you that in just a second. I need to shine this thing up, but this is the Berkey that I have used for years, and I haven't had any issues with it. Now, I do want to state, just for, I guess, transparency purposes, is that there is some controversy over the Berkey water filters. And I'll show you on the inside. It is just like the membrane solutions. Oh, I'm empty. I need to refill it. But it has 2 carbon filters. But there has been some controversy over the years with Berkey and those carbon filters not filtering out aluminum. There has actually been some papers written that show that it can actually concentrate the amount of aluminum. To be completely honest with you, I don't know what I believe about that. I'm not sure, what to believe about that at all. I've done the best amount of research that I can do on the Berkey and trying to find the truth of the matter when it comes to aluminum filtration, but not just that. More concerning is the aluminum concentration somehow that could be happening. There is actually a lawsuit that was posed against Berkey. I don't know what the status of that is. I have absolutely no idea where that stands, so do your own research on that. But I have to say that ever since that happened, I've had this little thought in the back of my mind. is this affecting my family? Is this aluminum issue affecting us? And you know, everyone has to do their own research and come to their own conclusions about that. I have used and loved my Berkey filter for over 10 years, but there's a lot of trust involved with water filters. You have to just kind of have to trust that that filter is working. Now, when you can see the results with like the really dirty water with that straw, that's a totally different story. But of course, things like bacteria, viruses, aluminum, those, you know, micro minerals and chemicals and stuff like that, we can't see those like we can dirt and debris. So there's a lot of trust that goes into just trusting that the product is working as it should. And ever since that lawsuit was brought up against Berkey, it's just kind of put a little bug in my ear of doubt, wondering what the truth is on that. So I just wanted to let y'all know in case you have not heard about that yet. It's kind of old case, I think, but like I said, I don't know what the update is on that. If you do know what the update is, please link it in the description box below and let me know, and I can learn more and investigate more about that. But that kind of even more solidifies why I really appreciate the two-step solution, because if there is something that makes it through those 3 carbon filters, if there's any kind of contaminant that makes it through that, it then has to go through this concentrated UV light blast. And it's like, what else is going to survive that? I'm sure there are some things, like I said, I don't know, and no one that I know of, no one claims 100% purification. I think that's just not possible to claim that. And this company certainly doesn't. So I'm sure some things can get through, but I just really appreciate that I'm not completely dependent on the carbon filters to purify the water. That 2-stage process really lines up with my belief of having redundancy built into our plans. Okay, so the third and final type of water filtration option is going to be a DIY option. This is something that when we were on a super duper duper tight budget, trying to prepare and plan for hard times ahead, we didn't even have a Berkey yet. We didn't have any kind of thing like that. I went ahead and drew up a plan for a DIY water filter. Now the plan is essentially a 5-gallon bucket or one of those office water containers. They're like really big and then they taper down into this really small hole. I wish I had one on hand to show you, but I don't. That's going to be the container that we would use for this. And essentially, you can use any type of container. You've got to have a container that is open at the top, but that you can still cover, and it's got to have an outlet valve at the bottom, and you can create that out of pretty much any container. But what you need is medium options. And what I mean by medium, I mean like pebbles and rocks and sand and grit and, you know, just all of those different types of things. And when you are building a DIY option, you are going to use your medium, whatever you can find, source, or go ahead and buy ahead of time, which we'll discuss, is you want to go from large to small. So picture a 5-gallon bucket. The very top layer would be large rocks. The next layer would be small rocks. The next layer would be pebbles. The next layer might be a thick layer of sand. The next layer might be activated charcoal. And the final layer, which either on top or on bottom, is going to be a layer of cheesecloth. And if you can go from that big medium to small medium and have multiple filtration options that includes activated charcoal, you are going to clean your water pretty significantly. Again, I can't guarantee, you know, I don't think any kind of company or material can guarantee 100% purification. But when you're in an emergency situation, it will clean your water significantly, have significantly fewer pathogens in it than it did before. So the two things that I have here are the two #1 filtration when you're building a DIY system to have on hand is activated charcoal and cheesecloth. And actually the cheesecloth, I have one that's unopened for demonstration purposes, but I keep cheesecloth on hand in an open drawer all the time. The reason why I don't have it to show you is because I use it to make and strain all my fruit juices and syrups, elderberry syrup, blueberry syrup, and it is like magenta colored. It's actually kind of pretty, but it's stained big time and looks dirty even though it's not, so I wanted to use this. But when it comes to cheesecloth, I actually highly recommend using a piece of cheesecloth and let that be the first thing that you use on a water straw. So for instance, you would take a piece of cheesecloth, you only need a little square like that, and place it over here, and you can put a rubber band around it so that when you are drinking from a pond or a stream, or you're using this along with the gravity filter, whatever the case may be, having the sediment go through that cheesecloth first before it goes through that filter is going to increase the longevity of whatever option you choose, whether it's a straw, whether it's a gravity emergency type camping bag, whether it's one of these standalone gravity filters that you for everyday use. When it comes to making, I'm really like, it's important to me that whatever I choose to invest in, I try to make it last as long as possible. Everything's going to break down. Everything's going to need replaced at some point. But if we can take really small steps to make that last longer, that's just being a better steward of my resources. And cheesecloth is so cheap. So multi-purpose. Like I said, I use this in my canning, making juice, filtering out seeds from pulp, and all of that stuff. So it's just really multi-purpose. I highly recommend that every household has a pack of cheesecloth because of how multi-purpose it is. But if you can just get a little swatch, tie it with the rubber band over there, and make sure that your entry of dirty water goes through that first, it's just going to make this filter last that much longer. When it comes to these water filters, by the way, I think it filters out just over 1,300 gallons of water per filter, which comes out to 5,000 liters, I think, for those of you watching from a European country. But 1,300 gallons is a lot, but they are designed to be replaceable. So you wouldn't have to replace the whole thing, you would just have to replace the filter stick on the inside. And those are extremely budget friendly as well. Okay, y'all, I hope that was helpful to you. 3 different kind of options. I think we did more than 3, but some for emergencies and some for just everyday use. And I wanted to just bring that to y'all. And I also wanted to get out this out before Black Friday, because we will have discount links and stuff linked down in the description box below if you're interested in checking anything out further. Okay, y'all, we'll see you next time. Bye.